How did my marriage end up this way? That was the very first thought of Racheal when she saw the strange man coming out of her bathroom. She was never the kind of person who believed in divorce ever since her parents' marriage ended in a disaster. She had always hoped that one day she would find her Prince Charming and they would have a happily ever after. But that all ended the moment she met him. Racheal had always felt that there was something wrong with her marriage. Her husband had courted her passionately and sincerely back then. That he wanted to marry her right away, even though she was just 21 and yet to complete her undergraduate studies. Racheal could understand why it turned out to be a loveless and sexless marriage. They slept in the same bed, but he never had sex with her. However, after that night, everything changed. That night, she had been led to a high-end hotel by her husband. She thought finally 3-year sexual marriage would end. Little did she know that this was all a plot by her beloved husband. She laid on her side, sore and fragile. She was uncomfortable and the memory was vague. So she tried to relax and reminisce the moment. Piece together the beautiful memory they shared. Her husband had finally devoured every part of her. He was not gentle, but she felt sweet and happy. Racheal's thought was suddenly interrupted by the bathroom door. She sees a handsome man in a bathrobe stepping out, water trickling down his bare chest. After what seemed like years, her eyes sluggishly walked their way to his face. His fiery blue eyes pierced into hers, and all her nerves fired at once, as if they were trying to remind her of something. Snap out of it, she reminded herself, as another thought registered. That's not your husband. Wait a second. That's not Raymond. Before Racheal could say anything, the man was the first to say, "Why are you still here?" His cold voice was filled with discontent. Racheal was utterly shocked and looked at the strange man in front of her in disbelief. "Who are you?" She didn't know him. He was a stranger to her. "Who the hell are you? And why are you here?" she screamed. "Raymond brought me here. This is our suite. How could this strange man be here? Where is Raymond?" Racheal grabbed the blanket in panic and quickly got up from the bed. She vigilantly looked at the man who was standing by the bed. "How did you get in here? Where is my husband? Where is he?" The man's features were deep and cold. He looked impatient. Suddenly, he stepped forward, stretched out his hand, and pulled Racheal up. The blanket wrapped around her slipped. "What do you want?" His voice was cold, had a hint of contempt rose from the corner of his lips. "Let go of me! Let go of me!" Racheal screamed again in fear, and her face was flushed. Standing so close to him now, Racheal couldn't help but notice all his features. He was wearing a soft white bathrobe. Drops of water trickling down his short wet hair to his cheek, his sexy jaw, and onto his chest. Racheal was shy before such sexy blow, and the memory they shared, the one she has been trying so hard to block, was not helping. The more shy she got, the more embarrassed and angry she got. "Who do you think you are? You should have left after we had sex." The man's voice grew angry and cold at every word. But when his eyes fell on her delicate body, his voice softened. "But I don't mind one more round," he said. Before she could respond, she was pressed against the wall. The man leaned forward, his burning chest close to her. He bent down and kissed her on the lips, his burning lips invading hers furiously. Racheal's mind went blank. She didn't understand what was happening. She had come here with her husband, How did she end up on another man's bed? The man's bulkiness between her legs, desperately looking for a way in, broke her trance. She began to struggle. She struggled with all the strength she could muster, but all her struggle was futile. An idea hit her and suddenly she stopped struggling. She raised her right hand and put it around the man's neck. Racheal tilted her head and took the initiative to deepen the passionate kiss. The man was surprised by initiative. He was in a daze when Racheal grabbed the opportunity to beat the tip of his tongue. The stick made him release her in anger. Racheal panicked but took the opportunity to give the man a shove. Quick! She grabbed a random coat on the rack and dashed out. Outside, she put it on. She could vaguely hear the man roaring at someone over the phone. She couldn't make out what they were talking about, but at the mention, "Send 2 bodyguards," Racheal had raced. Not interested in what else he said, she ran as fast as her feet would carry her. After going through 5 flights down the stairs, it dawned on her that she may have been on the 20th floor, not the initial 5th floor her husband had booked. She stepped into the elevator and pressed 1. After a heart-wrenching minute, ding! She was on the 1st floor. Cautiously, she stepped out, expecting the security to pounce on her, but no one did. They only gave her a strange look. She followed their stairs and realized, dang, she was barefoot. Feeling embarrassed, she ran out and rushed into the first taxi she could find. Only then she could fully relax. Fiery Villa website. The driver nods, indicating he knew where it was. 1500, he said. Racheal dipped her hand into the pocket to fetch her wallet. When her hand touched a watch instead, she realized this was not her coat. She searched the other bag to find a wallet, preferably with some money in it. Then she found a black Louis Vuitton wallet. Quickly, she opened the wallet, but found 5 credit cards, no cash. Useless, she murmured as she puts it back. Racheal decided to examine the watch. Perhaps it was something of value. She brought it out. It was a pocket watch, exquisitely crafted with gold. Half this instead, she stuffed the pocket watch into the driver's hand. He gave her a weird look, but hurriedly put the watch in his pocket and started driving. Situated in the car, Racheal began to recall what had happened. She jerked at the thought of his thrust. The kisses. He had held her as though he had known her for a long time, like he had been waiting for this moment. To Racheal, the feeling was familiar, but she couldn't place it. She wrapped the coat tightly around her, letting it scent engulfed her. The driver made a turn into the villa, and her erotic feelings were replaced by fear, followed by guilt. Why was she on another man's bed? At the sight of her husband's car, another stroke of guilt hit. Did he know? Is that why he left? What do I do? Do I confess? She wondered. "Ma'am, are we not in the right house?" the driver said. "Oh," she replied, stepping out of the car. Upon entering the villa, 2 maids immediately stepped forward to stop her. They were nervous, and after a while, one finally spoke up, with panic in her voice. "Ma'am, it is so late. We thought you'd better stay at the downtown apartment." Seeing their expression, Racheal knew something was wrong. But whatever it was, she was not interested. She had her problems, and she had to think of a way to face her husband. Ignoring them, she strode straight to the master's bedroom on the second floor. She had just gone upstairs when she heard the moaning and groaning of a man and a woman, voices which were both familiar to her.